are slashing jobs, cutting budgets, and just generally scaling back. Marketing budgets are, as a result, of course, under pressure. Is this the correct course of action? John Caslione is the CEO of GCS Business Capital, and he's also the co-author of this, Chaotix. Let's talk to him about how he sees the way we should manage our way through this. Many companies follow a rule book going through this. They try and adapt, they try and tinker at the edges, but basically in this kind of environment, CFOs are in charge. It's about cutting costs at just about every single turn that costs can be taken out of the business. Isn't that correct? Is this sort of one-size-fits-all, take out costs strategy the best way forward?
Actually, when you start to look at the strategies that have been used in the past for past recessions, and of which we've had 7, maybe 8 recessions, one was a double dip in the last 50 years, you've actually had 2 unofficial playbooks. One to manage during the times of prosperity and one to manage on the downturn. Okay? And so the way to manage during the downturn in the past was to cut cost. And that was it. It was very oftentimes across the board cutting of cost. The interesting thing is this. When you start to look at surveys of all those companies that actually emerged out of the past recessions, at most 15% actually improved their businesses when they emerged from recessions. Quite interesting. It begs the question, what happened to the other 85 or 90%? Did they not learn? The interesting thing, though, is as we are saying now, we start to look at all of the drivers. This is not a normal recession. We all know that. This bears very little similarity to the depression of the 1930s. In fact, we have entered into a new age. As the title of the book says, it's Chaotix, the business of managing and marketing in the age of turbulence. And it's actually heightened turbulence these days. In the past, we've had an average of 7 or 8 upswings, if you will. It averaged 5 to 7 years. And then the recessions averaged about 10 months, on average. So basically, it's a sine wave. No more. When you start to look at the drivers, the age in terms that we've gone into, now it goes into more of a series of non-uniform W's as we go across. So it's really quite interesting. Now, when you start to look at the companies that actually emerged from recessions in the past, many of their strategies were based upon the 15%, a multi-year recovery. Now, Guy, what we're looking at now, and people are searching for the solution, and they really haven't recognized the problem. This is the problem. We are in a position now where we have to redefine what is a recession. Historically, it's been 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. We're going to also have to redefine what is a recovery, because whilst we all want the good times to come back and we'd like to push the restart button and be able to at least come substantially back, that may not be an option for us, and people are not recognizing
but a whole host of questions.
But can what I want to know is, can management keep the equity wolves at bay? Can they keep the shareholders at bay while they go through this largely theoretical discussion? Because ultimately, you still live and die by quarterly results. You don't deliver, you're gone, despite the fact that we're resetting everything, which I agree with.
You know, it's interesting, Martin. We're starting to see, I think you're starting to see a little bit of a pushback in terms of guidance. Okay? You're starting to see, managing directors, president CEOs are softening a bit in terms of not wanting to commit themselves. One of the things that we are facing now, globalization. We went through the industrial age. It changed not only business, but it changed all of our lives. We went through the digital age. You can call this the globalization age. Right now, we have globalized to such a point, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, that we have really entered a time where we have interlocking fragility. We've got intimately linked economies, all national economies. We've got interdependencies that when times are good, we all soar. We've seen that. But when times go bad, we go down, and we go down fast, and we go down hard, because that damage spreads virally.
Interlocked world, globalization, we all now take it for granted, I think. How do managers have to operate differently? You talk about this recovery phrase. I think this is probably what everybody would like to hear this evening. How do you manage your way in this new paradigm you seem to be discussing about how the recovery looks different to how it did before?
And the new paradigm we're talking about is really what we call the new normality. We have, in the book, we've outlined, we've done a lot of research in this. We started to look at what we call Chaotix management behaviors as well as marketing behaviors. And some of them are counterintuitive, quite frankly. because one of the things that comes out of all this, and there's 8 components, and I'll take you through very briefly what those 8 components are. One thing, the notion of the inevitability of strategy decay has always been there. During times of heightened turbulence, which we're living through right now, it accelerates. All strategies wear out over time. Yep. And so now, one of the problems that we've had is in the recent past, there has been such an intensive focus on short-term profitability, quarterly profitability, Martin, exactly what you're saying, as well as too fast a growth within too short a period of time. And then the topple rate. Jack Welch's topple rate that he predicted would double when we entered the 2000s, which really means that the market leader loses their positions. He said it would go up twice. It's gone up 3 times, and now it's going up 4 times. So the incumbents that are looking at the strategies of the past and the business models built around that, with the acceleration that's going on, they are most vulnerable. So, okay, the 8 components, which is very interesting because when Gordon Brown hosted the G20 in early April, when he came out and gave his speech about the great successes that we had, which, by the way, 17 out of the 20 countries enacted within 4 days protective measures, trade barriers. Okay?
Yeah,
Exactly. This is what happens. He said we have to put in an early warning system. 8 months ago, as the first component, is an early warning system to really understand what the soft cues are.
I don't have time to let you go through all 8. We're going to have to just leave it at 1.
Okay. But my challenge right now is to not only business leaders but also government leaders. We can't be counting on going back to the traditional sine wave, and we need to start to redefine what is a recession and what is recovery.
People can read it in the book. I hope they will.
Yes, they will.
John, thank you very much indeed for joining.